Our world is so deeply broken.
Racial division, economic problems, immorality issues.
Our nation desperately needs revival, and that always begins in united prayer.
Gloo is the #1 movie in America.
What's important is for us to join God in what He is doing. And right now, clearly, He is calling His church back to prayer.
Lord, you promised that if we, your people, who are called by your name, will humble ourselves and pray, Lord, and seek your face and turn from our wicked ways, that you would hear us from heaven, and that you would forgive our sins and heal our land. Lord, the fields are ripe for harvest, and we pray that you would send the workers. Raise up an army of believers, Lord, in every neighborhood in this country.
If you are a Christian believer, God placed you where you live to help your neighbors become vibrant, reproducing disciples of Jesus Christ. Sign up free at blesseveryhome.com, and you'll receive a map and list of your neighbors along with the tools to pray for them by name, care for, and share the gospel with them.
Raise up praying neighbors, Lord, so that every household in America might be lifted up by name before your throne of grace. Lord, I pray these things with all my heart. We pray for a sustaining revival like no one has ever seen. So start a revival, Lord, and start it in me.
Man, that gets you a little fired up, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Hey, Chris.
I'm getting my video. I'm trying to get my camera turned on here, but it's not letting me do that. So anyway, I'm just going to speak here and join Steele Billings here. I'm Chris Cooper, and I'm with Bless Every Home, and we're so thankful that you all have joined us today, and we're excited to share with you.
Amen. Yeah, I'm grateful to be here with you, Chris. This is the first of many, I think, that we are kicking off in this series that Gloo is able to come alongside of Bless Every Home and get to participate in this incredible mission that you guys have been on. We've been such huge fans of Bless Every Home for so long, and the journey that you've been a part of. So I'm extremely grateful to be here. Thanks for having me. For those of you who maybe don't know what Gloo is or the mission that Gloo has been on, we started about more than 10 years ago working to create really an infrastructure that the church that would serve the church as the church scales and seeks to reach the ends of the earth. One of the things that I love to share about Gloo is the story of our founder, Scott Beck. There you see our mission statement: to release globally the passion in every person to champion the growth of another. And ultimately, we believe that the church is the platform where that's going to happen. And so we spend just about all of our time at Gloo thinking about innovative technologies to help the church scale, and partnering with various things like movements and organizations that do research like Barna Group. There you see some of the history that our founder has been a part of. There's one quote that I will share with you guys from Gloo, and it is this. It's innovation comes in small packages. Social innovation is happening today at the local level. Nothing new has to be invented. All that exists just needs to be scaled. The social fabric is tearing across this country, but everywhere helpers are rising up to repair their small piece of it. They are going into the hollow places and creating community, building intimate relationships that change lives one by one. And I don't know of any ministry, Chris, that I could think of that is embodying that the way Bless Every Home is embodying that. Really incredible ministry that you're leading here with Bless Every Home.
Thank you, Steele. Steele, one administrator, if you stopped my video, and that's why I can't turn on my camera.
Oh, I did. Well, let's see if we can fix that real quick. I'll tell you what. Let's make you host. See if you can do it now, Chris.
Hello.
Hey,
Nice
maybe
to see
after
you
10
all.
years of using Zoom, we'll figure it out, man. I'll tell you what.
Okay,
Sorry about that, Chris.
good. So our today's goals are what you're going to show those with? Yeah, number one, that you would be encouraged today. Number two, that you would be inspired by what's going on across the country in outreach through Bless Every Home. Number three, that you will be equipped with the practical tools and strategies to talk about prayer and evangelism in your church. And number four is that you will be determined to exceed your goals by reaching the community, by mobilizing your congregants to be lights for Christ in their neighborhoods.
I think these are really important goals. That Bless Every Home is very much a platform in itself, and the platform that you're standing on does these four things on a daily basis. And the national report that we're about to share, I think, is going to be inspirational to everybody on this webinar today. But so the idea of being encouraged by what's going on around you, in the middle of the pandemic, especially, we worked with a lot of ministries that were so close to what's going on the ground that, the idea of lifting your head to see what was going on around you was unheard of. You just didn't have time. You didn't have the capacity. Maybe you didn't have the energy to do it. And so just knowing what the Lord is doing around the country, I think, is going to be really, really encouraging to a lot of people today. Take this one, Chris.
Okay, our mission and vision at Bless Every Home is to equip Bible-believing churches and Great Commission ministries throughout America as missionary sending organizations, and that every constituent home is a mission outpost for Jesus Christ. Our vision is that every home in America will be adopted by neighboring Christians. We're committed to ministering them through long-term pray, care, share lifestyle. So right now we have over 94,000 registered lights. More than 10,000 churches have one or more lights in America, and over 58,000 lights are connected to churches. So,
and that you're almost to that 100,000 registered lights mark. That'll be a day to celebrate, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Pretty cool. All right, let's talk about the national report. This is something that Chris and I have been working very closely on. The team at Bless Every Home has been working on this for quite a while, and really just compiling this. Actually, the technology of Bless Every Home makes this report really, really easy. Actually, I say we've been working on it. We've been working on presenting it and really making sure that we're doing what we can with the data, making insightful actions. And so it's broken up into 5 areas. The first one is households adopted. So Chris, how many households are there in the United States?
About 130 million households.
Okay, so roughly 130 million households. You just heard Chris explain that the mission of Bless Every Home, or the vision of Bless Every Home, is to see every home in America adopted by a light. So 130 million, we're about to tell you how many households have been adopted so far. Prayers recorded. These are people, a lot of you that are on this call, you are lights. You get the daily email from Bless Every Home. I am a light. That's how I got engaged with Bless Every Home to begin with. I absolutely love it. In the mornings where I'm dragging and I don't know exactly how to get started in my time with the Lord, Bless Every Home's email is actually the thing that gets me going most mornings. I go, you know what? Let me just start here. Let me start with these 5 people. Let me start with this prayer. And so that's what the prayers recorded goal is that we're going to look at. We're also going to look at how many people are being cared for around the country, how many people have been sharing the gospel, and how many households are currently being discipled. So let's dive into it. Let's start with households adopted. So of the 130 million households that have been adopted in the United States, or I'm sorry, 130 total households in the United States, there have been 3.5 million households adopted. You see 2 commas, probably means we're talking in the millions, guys. 3,510,525,000 households have been adopted by.
And there are an average of 2.6 people in each of those households.
Wow.
So we're impacting a much larger number than that.
Wow. That's incredible. All right, so that's households adopted. Let's look at cared for. How many people are being cared for across the country? 143,496 acts of service, if you will, to neighbors or other individuals that people have adopted as a light in Bless Every Home. That's 143,000. That's pretty incredible. Let's talk about gospel shares. Guys, this is easily the most important thing that we're talking on here. Depending on who you are, a lot of people might argue that prayer is the most important thing that we're talking about. But when it comes to living out the Great Commission, guys, sharing the gospel is it. And we are looking at 55,844 people who have told us that they have shared the gospel with their neighbor or other people as a light in Bless Every Home. That is worth popping the confetti for, right? All right, households disciple. 23,823 households are currently or have been discipled by lights.
And that also includes identifying your neighbors who are also disciples. They're already followers of Christ, and then you can build missional communities with them in your neighborhoods.
Right. I didn't know that. Thanks for that, Chris.
Yeah.
All right, last but not least is how many prayers have been recorded. Guys, if you've been to blesseveryhome.com, you see the prayer counter, which is a live look at how many prayers are being recorded by lights. But guys, this past month, I think Bless Every Home passed the 30 million mark and is currently at 476,236 prayers have been recorded by lights. Chris, I don't know how you feel
Praise
about
the
that.
Lord.
You've been watching this number for a long time.
Yeah.
I think we did the math on this. This accounts to about 25 new prayers being recorded a minute right now, because the current pace that you're seeing is just over 250,000 prayers recorded per week by lights in Bless Every Home. And guys, we look at these things, we look at the numbers here because, you know, we are somewhat material in the things that we want to be able to see. We want to see impact. But guys, what this represents is the message of the gospel spreading. It represents people in their relationship with Abba Father, right? It represents something that is incredibly powerful. And so while we're looking at numbers here, we're actually talking about lives being transformed by the gospel. So incredible stuff. Great job to the Bless Every Home team. Great job, Chris. Great job, Lights. Really,
Praise
really
the
cool.
Lord.
Amen.
He gets all the credit.
Let's talk about our field report, Chris.
Okay, Pastor Shaddy Solomon is one of our leading Bless Every Home church pastors in the United States, and he has an incredible story. He started his church, he planted his church 12 years ago in a Panera Bread with 15 people. And today he's got 2,400 weekend attendance. And let's watch what Shaddy has to say.
All right, I'm going to mute and turn off my video during this, and we'll be right back with you.
So, okay, now you have 676 lights. Each of those lights have adopted neighbor homes that are right around them.
And so you all have adopted 19,000 neighbor homes, and we show you have a dashboard. And how many prayers have your people, your lights, posted for their neighbor homes by name?
Last time I checked, it was over 175,000 prayers,
Yes.
something like that. That's people actually that took the time to pray based on the email that Bless Every Home sends. So when Bless Every Home sent you a reminder, they don't send just a reminder, but they send you a prayer that you can actually pray. And here's the list of your neighbor,
Yes.
and they rotate the neighbors. You know, so if you adopted 30 homes, 40 homes, they give you a list. So at about a couple minutes, dedicating about a couple minutes to pray for your neighbor with an, you know, our church is very unchurched people, so a lot of them knew. So many people say, well, I don't know my neighbors. I can't pray for my neighbors. And some people say, well, I can't pray. So we made it our thing. Okay, if you don't know the neighbors, it will provide you with a list for your neighbors. And if you don't know how to pray, just read the prayers. Read the prayer, say amen in the end. Read the prayer and connect it to your neighbor. Read the prayer and personalize it to your neighbor. And then you could pray for your neighbors. If you don't know how to pray, they sent you a prayer to pray. Now, we'll tell people, those who are intercessors and they can pray, we said, you know, don't be limited to, you know, go for it. Pray for your neighbors. So I think the biggest thing is most of our churches around America, when you hear preaching, it's very inspiring. But once I'm inspired and I don't know what to do, that inspirations fade away. But when you inspire me, then you give me something I can do, and it's easily to do. Now that inspiration moved me into be a part of a movement. And now it's not just an event I attended, but now I'm a part of something that is taking on the community in prayers and in evangelism. That is a game changer. That is a game changer.
You gotta love Shaddy.
Yeah, can I just say that at the time we shot this video, which wasn't that long ago, he was at 175,000 prayers, and today he's at 220,000 prayers, with 730 lights who've adopted 19,000 homes
Wow.
in this neighborhood.
Wow. Yeah, that there's so much more in that conversation that I've had the privilege of watching, Chris, and I'm sure at some point we'll get that out there so that others can see the entire conversation, hearing their background, hearing the story of how they planted and where they've come from, and you know how he talks about practical ways that he's actually getting his lights engaged and his people engaged. He talks about neighbors starting to show up at the church. You know, him asking them, hey, how'd you hear about the church? And they're pointing to their neighbors going, that they were out walking in the neighborhood and they told us about this, you know. Really, really cool conversation. And so what a great champion Shaddy is. All right, well, let's start to shift into really, I think a lot of the reason why many of you are with us today, and that is to talk about the 5 steps to becoming a more community engaged congregation. So we're going to kick off. We're going to walk through these steps, maybe a little bit of housekeeping. I see questions coming in. Keep sending those questions. We're going to make sure that we have time at the end. Guys, we're about to unpack a lot of material in a short amount of time. Again, this webinar it is being recorded now. It will be shared out with everyone. We'll make sure that you guys get this content. Take as many notes as you possibly can. Take screenshots. Follow along in your Bless Every Home account. That'll be one of the first things that we're actually going to walk you guys through in a few minutes, is how you can actually open up a new tab right now, and you can get into the Bless Every Home sandbox, and you can follow along with some of the things we're going to be showing you. But at the end, we will have time for questions and answers. So please continue to drop those in the chat. Now, without further ado, let's dive in. Chris.
Okay, the next 5 steps. All right, let's look at those, Steele. All right, step 1 is to pray for the Lord's leading. So tell us about that, Steele.
Well, there's the culture wants to tell us that that this part isn't important, right? And we maybe even sometimes feel like, oh man, did they really start step one with pray for the Lord's leading? That's not practical enough. Surely none of you are saying that out there. But guys, we have seen the power of prayer. Bless Every Home is on the front lines with so many of you, and we're seeing lives transformed, and we're hearing testimony after testimony after testimony that it started with prayer. I love this quote. We were in a prayer meeting this past year. Both Chris and I were there, along with dozens of prayer leaders from around the nation. And this quote was said over and over again, that every revival of God has started with a revival of the leaders. And I love what Robbie Gallaty at Long Hollow Baptist says about the revival that happened at his church. If you know about it or have heard about it, then you know that it's the real deal. I mean, it has spread like a wildfire. Robbie even says, that the fame of revival often sparks the flame of revival. But Robbie was sharing the story of how revival came to Long Hollow, at least how he believes it came to Long Hollow. And he said, it started with me praying that the Lord would change the hearts of my congregation. The Lord, man, I've got people complaining about things. I've got people that don't want to serve. I've got people, bickering about this or that. And he said the Lord made it very clear to him that, Robbie, I'm not going to change any of their hearts until I change your heart. And so for him, it was all about going into a season of silence and solitude and desperately seeking the Lord to send revival on his church and on his community and his city. And so every revival of God has started with a revival of the leaders. So step one, guys, it cannot be understated, is the most important step that we're going to share with you today. And that is to start by praying that the Lord would lead you as you start to call your people to a more community engaged congregation.
Amen. That's the beginning.
All right, let's talk about step two.
Okay, set goals for reaching the whole community. So tell us about that, Steele.
Yeah. So setting goals, guys, is obviously extremely important. We're going to talk about a framework that you can use for your setting goals. If you've been around Bless Every Home for a little while, you've been introduced, and maybe even before Bless Every Home, you've heard about the Pray, Care, Share, Disciple model, and how you can apply this paradigm to the culture of your church. But these are goals that actually inspire action, guys, that when you start to set your goals around, hey, how much are our people engaged in prayer? How many people are actually caring for their neighbors and seeking opportunities to care for their neighbors? Who's sharing the gospel out there? Who are discipling people? I haven't shared with you guys. I've been a part of a congregation called Bellevue Baptist Church. Maybe many of you have heard of it here in Memphis, Tennessee. And I'm extremely passionate and in love with our church's heart for discipleship and how it is to go make disciples. Bellevue Baptist does a really good job of that. It's led by a wonderful minister there that is very, very intentional about that. And the whole staff there is very intentional about disciple making. But I've always wished that we could see how this is looking. How are we doing? How are we performing against these goals? And so especially for those of you who are already using Bless Every Home, I think most of you are probably on this call because you use Bless Every Home in some dimension. But the Pray, Care, Share, Disciple is not just a framework that you can start to build around. It's also one that is measurable if you're using Bless Every Home. Our friends at the SBC of Virginia put together this graphic on the right. I won't read you all of these words, but when you're using Bless Every Home, you can take this framework and you can actually visualize it on a map. You can see your performance and how well you're tracking against this. Right now, you're looking at the cluster analysis that if you are in Bless Every Home and you go into your map, underneath prayer coverage, you can click on adopted, prayed, cared, shared, discipled, and then cluster analysis. And you'll see different colors on the map that represent it. If anybody is here on the call today, yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, just so you know what this represents is each of these colored polygons that you see represents a census block group that has an average of 700 mailing addresses in residential mailing addresses. And the colors indicate the level of coverage that we have. And we can see how many are adopted, how many homes have been prayed for, cared for, shared with, and discipled. And we can also show how your own members are clustered within each one of those neighborhoods.
The cluster analysis, I think, is one of the most practical tools that you can use as a church. We'll talk about this some more, but one of the ministers at Bellevue Baptist, his name is Tim Shelton. Tim, I don't know if you're on this call or not, but if not, I'm gonna praise you for a second. Tim is a very intentional minister when it comes to calling people together for purposes of gospel advancement. And so Tim has introduced me to person after person that lives around me, lives near me, and says, hey, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but you probably have a lot in common. In fact, you guys might even be thinking about praying over the same people. And so he's very intentional about calling people together. The cluster analysis is going to help you identify who those people are. And we'll show you some more views of that in just a few minutes.
Right.
Step 3, let's dive into knowing people and community.
Okay.
All right, so one, this is where you can start to follow along. Now, just for the sake of time, guys, we're not going to switch over into the live view of Bless Every Home. We'll do that towards the end of the call for anybody who has some deeper questions about how the functionality works. But if you want to follow along in what we call our sandbox, it's completely a test environment, lots of dummy data in there. If you go to blesseveryhome.com, you can sign in with Sandbox at mce.com, password sandbox1. And in fact, we'll drop this into the chat real quick so that anybody wants to follow along with it.
Good idea. Yeah,
again, go to blesseveryhome.com. You can log in with this account, and you'll be able to go to map.
So here you can go in and actually play with all of our tools that are in there. We set up a hypothetical church. And so we have members of the church, we have visitors, we have lights that you can see, we have new mover homes that are moving in. We'll talk about that a little later.
So
Okay,
one of the things that is very important when you're talking about know your community, know your people. These are things that that Gloo has been doing for a long time. If any of you are a Gloo Lighthouse Church, then you've probably worked with Matt Engel or Carrie Snyder a lot. Those are some of our experts when it comes to how churches are better understanding their community, better engaging with their community by learning more about them. It's about asking the right questions of your people and of your community. And it could start with something as simple as, do you know where your people are across the city? When is the last time you plotted your people on a map so that you could visually see or visually represent those people in various groups even? And so in the sandbox, you're going to see how attenders can be broken down. This is based on how you can either connect it to your church management system if you're using Church Community Builder. You can easily upload a list of people. And soon you'll have several more options for church management system integration.
Notice that you can code each of your attender households by what is their relationship to your church.
I love that.
And you can set those codes. All this stuff is really easy to use. It's all Google Maps and just layered data with lots of support as you go along.
So it starts with asking simple questions. What about a little bit more? What about your lights across the city? Same view that we were just looking at with your attenders, now with a new layer of your lights. And so a lot of these people are your attenders, visitors, they're also your lights. So you're actually seeing them represented in the same icon there. Then you go into, what about the mission field?
I just want to make an important statement here that the people that sign up to be lights attached to your church are going to be, in most cases, they're going to be some of your best members and your emerging leaders. You're going to find people raising to the surface and coming forward that really want to be leaders, and they're willing to reach out to neighboring homes and network them and build missional communities. I know Gary Kendall's on the call. He knows what I'm talking about.
So it's not
Okay,
just about knowing the
thanks.
people that you're already connected to. Then you can start to layer in things like who's actually in that mission field around our attenders. And you know, this becomes very valuable when you're able to start to pull in people who are lights, people who are saying, yes, coach me up to be more engaged in my community. And you get to enrich their experience by helping them understand things about their community that maybe they weren't able to do. You know, individuals out there, that's the power of the church and being a united body, is that you guys have the opportunity to use tools like this and spread it to your congregants who would never necessarily adopt a tool like this, where they're looking at demographic data on a community and understanding, how do I apply that to ministry? That's exactly
one of
what
the most important principles here that most pastors are really not aware of is that when your members and your visitors live in the same neighborhoods, it's far more likely that they do not know each other than that they do each. So this is an opportunity, and your lights are the best candidates to be your champions in each neighborhood, to network all of those members and visitors, and we have tools that help you do that.
All right. Chris, why don't you talk about new movers? There's a lot of aspects to the new mover program in Bless Every Home. How does it work? What are we looking at here on this map?
Yeah, once you have recruited your members to be lights, you can show them on the map, as well as all of your non-light member attenders. But you see these green little icons that are on there. Each week on Tuesday afternoons, we post like up to 25 new mover households that have just moved into your community. And we qualify these, and we say, hey, we're not going to post a new mover household unless they have moved more than 14 miles from their old address. So you can see, for example, see that the box up there, it says they moved 1 week ago, and they moved, their old address is 156 miles away.
Wow.
Now what we can do is if we give you the tools to do this, but you can automatically have us send an email to the light and say, hey, you have a new mover, here's the name and address, would you please go try to visit them in the next week and invite them to church?
That's pretty powerful. So me as the light actually gets notified. So I actually get notified as a light because my church has given me permissions to do that.
Right. And
every time somebody new moves in,
process both ways, and then they won't give you new neighbors that are more than 1.3 miles away. So it's beautifully spreading out the new neighbor assignments among your lights who volunteer to be on the new neighbor team.
That's pretty powerful. Okay. All right. We still have several more things to cover. We've got about 10 more minutes that we're going to cover some more things. Talk about the sweet spot analysis report, because I think this is something that maybe a lot of people don't know about. They don't know how easy it is to go generate. What is this report, and where would I find it?
Okay, so this is a 36-page, highly detailed demographic analysis of your 10-minute drive time. It's not just a circle around your church, but it's how far can you drive in any direction in 10 minutes. And then to show you how detailed it is, each of those red dots that you see on that map represent a home that has moved into your mission field within the last 12 months. That's your low-hanging fruit, okay? And most churches do not have, or not really working out a plan to reach each of those new movers that are coming in. So we'd love to help you do that.
All right. So just to talk about how easy it is to get access to this, guys, if you have logged into the Sandbox account, or you are already in your own Bless Every Home account, it's going to look something like this on your dashboard. What you're going to do to get access to that is go to Tools, go to Resources, scroll down just a little bit, and you're going to see underneath printable, you're going to see the sweet spot analysis. Just click on that, and it generates the report for you. You get that 30.
Actually, when you first sign up, that button is right on your dashboard page. All you have to do is click that button, and it'll generate it in a matter of seconds, and you can download it.
Wow. All right. We'll keep going. Step 4, coaching your people really to become the ministry. Now, we're not going to go into a ton of depth around this, really, because step 5 has a lot of depth to it. But guys, this is about taking that knowing, taking everything that you've learned about your people, about your community, starting to aggregate that, and then start to understand, okay, now what do I need to use from that knowing to start to teach people how they're going to get in the game, if you will. And so you'll see in that resources area several things that you guys can use. Articles about how to be a good neighbor, articles about prayer, simple strategies to calling people to prayer, articles about evangelism. You're going to start to see this whole section of resources start to transform as well. As Bless Every Home engages with new partners, Gloo will have content that starts to show up. Gloo has a hub of resources like this that we're going to start to pass into Bless Every Home to make it easy for you guys to get access to. And so you can start to take these resources and applying them to your coaching of your people before you send them out.
Right. And we have recommended prayer sermons that you can use and things like that. So we've had, with over 10,000 churches now that have one or more lights, we've got a lot of pastors who prayed sermons that are introducing this to the church, and we're going through and finding the best sermons, and we'll be sharing those with you.
All right, step 5, equipping your people to take action. And so we're going to talk about what it means to start to call people to lights, and how they can become lights, what it means to become a light, what all do lights have access to. So Chris, explain, what is a light?
Okay, so a light for Christ is somebody who signs up at blesseveryhome.com. You just you just click the sign up button and put in your address, and you create a password. And then we create for you a map and a list of your 40 closest neighbors. That's step 1. Step 2, then we're going to send you daily reminders to pray for 5 people automatically that day, along with suggested prayer for that day. And these are all based on the promises of God. So you'll be praying the promises of God over each of those homes and your own home. And then step 3, you track the Pray, Care, Share journey with colored icons. So you'll see on your map that you can color code each home based on where they are where you are with them in their Pray, Care journey. And then 4th, we have an unlimited prayer journal and contact tools with each neighbor home. And it's always free for lights. So great.
That one is not to be understated, the prayer journal, how important it is. One of my neighbors, she walks every single day, multiple times a day. I see her name constantly come up. In fact, I'm looking for her name most mornings when I open up my the emails to see is her name a part of my daily 5. I often go into the map, and I'm praying for her by name. And I finally had the opportunity to stop and just talk to her, and she explained her story as to why she walks, a health condition that she's suffering from, and the anxiety and things that she struggles with as a result of that health condition. And guess where that information now lives? It is in my prayer journal inside Bless Every Home on my neighbor. And it just helps me understand what was the last interaction that I had. What's the next thing? What was a thought that came to my head as I was talking to her? What's something that I wish I would share with her?
Right.
It's not to be understated, the power of that journal.
Yeah. Hey, Steele, I just saw Jane Flores-Wick, who's one of our great champions in Kansas. Just ask, how can people find out if they're not getting their right neighbors in? And one of the great things about this we didn't mention here is that we have a really strong help desk support system. So if you're having any problems with your neighbor home assignment, simply email in, click a button, email in a help desk request, and we'll get back to you and help you out.
Great. All right. So a couple of things that lights are going to see when they sign up. One, this is that daily email that Chris was talking about. Has that a suggested prayer, guys? Just a starter. Patty, I saw you're kind of like me. It's your morning starter. It's just a way for me to begin having a conversation with God. And so it's a great suggested prayer. I'm often coming in here looking for what it is that's new this morning that is really insightful. Always really good stuff. Then you get the dashboard, and the way I look at this is it's kind of like a micromanagement system, if you will, for an individual who is trying to be the ministry. When you talk about, most of you on this call are ministry leaders, guys, it's about calling your people into the game. When you talk about coaching, we're not using that word lightly. It's coach your people to get in the game, guys. It is about not going to church on Sunday morning to consume, but flipping that on its head, man. You come to church on Sunday morning, you get equipped, you get coached so that out in the mission field, you're ready to take action and be in the game. This is their dashboard as they are in the game. It tells them how many people they're inviting, how many homes they've adopted, how many prayers they've been recording, how many cares how many times they've cared for somebody, how many gospel shares they've had, how many discipled homes they have in their neighborhood. Everything mobilely accessible. I think one thing that should be encouraging to a lot of you, this is not about getting a bunch of people to download an app. Most lights in Bless Every Home, was a surprise to me, are using the web version of this, and they are not using the app. I personally use the app. I think the app is easier for me to get into every day. But Chris, I thought that was pretty encouraging that most people are saying, hey, I don't have to have the app to get started in this, and you don't.
Right. Now, let me answer one question here. Let's see. So it was just chatted into us. And the question was, is the information that you enter into your own personal light account about a neighbor home shared with other lights? And the answer is no. This is, if we have a very strong privacy policy, and if we're going to err one way or another, we're going to err towards being private. Now we will network you if you opt in to be able to meet other lights in your own neighborhood, which you see on the bottom right side of this screen. And they have also opted in, then we will connect you. And that is not only within your church, but across church and denominational lines. So we want to build these missional communities, every neighborhood in America. So, but now, if you choose to share, maybe you're praying for another light in your neighborhood and you're praying for the same homes, then I encourage you guys to get together and pray together for them and talk about how you can minister to them. So thanks for that question.
Yeah, great question. All right, let's fly through some more of these screens real quick. We have this concept of a map. So if you're a light, you've seen your map. If you have not used it, guys, you may not know that when you sign up to become a light, you are getting a visual representation of your neighborhood, where people live, so that you can cover your neighbors by name. It uses color coding to represent who have you just prayed for, who have you cared for, who have you discipled, who have you shared the gospel with. Green lights up when you have shared the gospel with that person in that household.
Right. And can I draw your attention? Would you go back once to that slide? Over on the phone there, notice how there's an information box. When you click on the home, it shows you, and that's how you color code your home, how easy it is. So if you pray for them, you just click on that red icon. If you cared for them, you click the gold and so on. That's how you color code them. You can go right in through that information box and edit record prayer requests, and set up communication systems to meet with them. So thanks.
All right. So guide your lights and track the progress of goals. We talked about this a little bit earlier, the idea of how you can start to represent all of these things on your church's map. And as you do that, you'll have visual representation of your performance against those goals. Again, if you're starting to set your goals against, how many households do we want to see adopted in our community this year, for example? 2023 is coming up. Start to think through, how many households do you want to see your congregants go out and adopt? Let's just start there. How many people are going to be adopted, which means that that person is committing to pray, care, share, or disciple the people in that household. And so there you can see, if it has no color on it, it's at 0%. 1 to 25% of this walkable neighborhood has currently been adopted. If it's green, where you see there's a high concentration, guys, there's direct connection between the number of lights in a walkable neighborhood and the number of households that are adopted, the number of households that are prayed for, how many people are being shared the gospel with.
Yes, amen.
As a church, it's also important to note that you guys will have roll-up data of the activity of these lights, where you won't necessarily have every light's activity. You will be able to see the roll-up dashboard so that you can track against your goals. If you already have a church account, you've seen this dashboard. If you do not, this will turn on when you have at least the Blessed Partner account, which we'll talk about in just a second.
Well, if you're a church administrator and you see the 69 lights there, we have a download tool where you can see all the activity of all of your lights, right? And to when did they sign up? How many homes did they adopt? When's the last date of last activity? So we give you the coaching tools so that you can keep encouraging your lights to stay active and invite their friends to be lights as well.
Now, let's get into what a lot of people have been asking in the chat is, how do you recruit lights? Bless Every Home has thought of that. I'm a huge fan of Bless Every Home's promotional portal and the tools that you and the team, Chris, have built to make it really easy for ministry leaders to start getting people in the game. Talk a little bit about these.
Okay, so the first thing is that we give you an email template that you can go in, you can modify this, but in the bottom of the email template, there is a URL code. And if they click that URL code when they want to become a light, they automatically sign up and they're automatically connected to your church. That's how Shaddy Solomon got 730 lights to sign up. That's a primary way in a 1 year since he started, he's gotten that many lights. Now, but you don't want to just do it on the day that you're going to do a sermon on this. You want to keep that in front of your congregation always. So we give you a QR code that's just for your church. If your members shoot that QR code, it will lead them to sign up to be a light connected right to your church.
Hey, some of you may be looking at this QR code.
Pardon me?
This QR code that's on the screen, by the way, everybody, is not the QR code that you will use. This is just an example. If you click on this, or if you scan this, some of you may have already done it. It will connect you to the Sandbox Church. Each church will get their own unique QR code. Just a little note there.
Yeah, and then on the right, see, this is a dashboard that shows your progress for the church. And you can put that, like you could put it on a monitor, or you can send people to this as part of your website. It's got one line of code. You just pop that into your website and it will. And so Shaddy Solomon just keeps this right up at the front of his website, showing the progress of his church.
Great job, guys. All right. We are at the end of our time. Let's clear up a few questions real quick. I know we've already seen some of these questions, but for those of you who are wondering, okay, what do I need to do everything that we've been talking about? One, to become a light, you don't need anything. You just sign up to become a light at blesseveryhome.com. Costs you nothing to become a light, costs you your time. It costs you the everything that's going to cost you to be a follower of Christ in your neighborhood. That's what becoming a light is going to cost you. But Blessed Partner is for churches and up. So same thing with new movers, same thing with community connectors. If you're an organization, a ministry of some sort, you're looking for one of those 3 accounts. We encourage you to all be lights as well, but you are looking for one of those 3 subscriptions if you are a church, thinking about how you roll this data up, how you get these dashboards that we've been seeing.
Let me just say that, on that $15 per month for the Blessed Partner that gives you all these tools to recruit, coach, that's people say, now, is that $15 a month per light? No, it's not. It's $15 for the whole church. I don't care if you have 20,000 members. That's what it costs you, $15 a month. Okay.
Good clarification.
Right,
That's great.
Steele.
Now, some of the things that we've talked about today do require that community connector subscription. The things like being able to connect your church management system, being able to see some of the demographic data, those are features of community connector. If you have any questions at all about how you get started with these accounts, if you don't already have one of these accounts and you want to get started, you can do that all yourself in your blesseveryhome.com account. Just go under tools and you'll see the different subscriptions there. If you have any trouble at all, feel free to reach out to our team. We'll make sure that you get answers to those questions. All right, let's recap real quick and talk about our 5 steps, and then we will answer some of the questions that are out there, and we'll be done.
Yeah, but we're going to keep the meeting open. So if you want to stick on and ask questions, and feel free to do that.
So recap, becoming a community engaged congregation with Bless Every Home, it means 1, starting with prayer, seeking the Lord about how the Lord wants to lead you and your congregation to be more engaged in your community. Step 2 is about setting goals for reaching the community, understanding, hey, how many households do we want to see adopted by our congregation this year? How many people do we want to see prayed for by name this year? Step 3, knowing about your people in community, knowing where they are, knowing where your congregants live together in clusters and neighborhoods. Step 4 is about coaching your people to become the ministry, to prepare them to get in the game. And step 5, just like Shaddy said, it's not just about inspiring them on Sunday morning with a sermon, but calling them to action and equipping them to take that action. Those are the 5 steps, guys, to becoming a community engaged congregation. Obviously, each one has micro steps inside of them. But guys, if you get this right, your church is going to look like a more community engaged congregation. All right, let's jump into some questions. Chris.
I just had I saw a chat that who do we contact if we have questions, Gloo or Bless Every Home? So I encourage you to go to Bless Every Home, and that's blesseveryhome.com. And then we have help desk, and you can submit questions, or we have frequently asked questions. So we have a number of ways to help you out, and we want to help you out. So please, please.
And it looks like Matt dropped the link for help desk tickets right in the chat. So thanks a lot, Matt.
Oh, thank you, Matt.
Tom, great question. What kind of tools is Gloo going to add, and when can we expect to start seeing those within Bless Every Home? Gloo has a hub of resources available to church leaders just like you guys. And so what we're working on right now is how do we start to allow those resources to show up inside of Bless Every Home. I would expect to start seeing that early 2023. I would expect to start seeing a number of other things like more church management integrations that Gloo is going to help power. So lots of things all throughout the year of 2023. You'll start to see a lot more show up thanks to our relationship with Bless Every Home.
And those church management system connections are so important, because you can go in and whatever your church management system is, we're going to be building those tools, those synchronization tools, so that as every time you put like a new visitor into your church management system, it's automatically going to synchronize with our mapping system.
Hey, King asked a question about his Chinese congregation and whether or not the tools will be in Chinese or other languages. Great question. The mobile app is available in Spanish. If you have the mobile app and you have Spanish set as your native language, at least in iOS, it will convert most of the language inside the mobile app to Spanish. Anybody using the web application, if you're using any kind of translation tools, Google Chrome has Google Translate built into it. The blesseveryhome.com website can be translated into other languages as well.
Right. We've even done this in Arabic. So we have people that can go in that if you know, they can identify what their language is that they want to be in, and will translate it on the fly or into Arabic.
Byron, you asked, with the basic account, can we import from CCB to email all members for onboarding instead of one by one? The short answer to your question is no. One, you've got a couple of questions in there. With the basic account, can you import from CCB? No is the answer to that. That is a community connector feature. You guys may correct me on that, though, Chris. You may be able to
That's
import,
true.
but you may not be able to see them
right
on the
now.
map.
It's a community connector feature.
And so then if you import them into Bless Every Home, can you email out from Bless Every Home? Not necessarily. So you'll look at other ways to distribute that email template. That email template is very easy for you to copy it and paste it into any email tool you'd like to send it from.
Well, actually, I'm going to
correct me, please, if I'm
just
wrong.
going to add to that in each one of your neighbor home accounts that you have as a light, you have a tool that can help you set up. You can store the contact information. You can set up to be reminded once a month to send out an encouraging email like, hey, I just want to let you know we prayed for you today. And and then it will send out, it facilitates your sending out either an email or a chat, text message.
Hey, Chad, thanks for clarifying that too about Planning Center. He said if you are using Planning Center, there is a way to upload your church list into the community connection, and there are instructions available as well. Sean, you asked about the Rock integration. Rock is actually the first one that we are working on building out right now. A lot of our lighthouse churches at Gloo are using Rock. And so it will be one of the first ones that gets released early 2023 with Bless Every Home. See if we missed anything else. Lots of questions about the recording. Absolutely. The recording is going to be shared up. How can my secretary access the dashboard and make necessary updates and changes to the map? Anybody can be added as an administrator on your church's account. And so if you have trouble doing that, feel free to reach out to our help desk. But really, if you'd like for me to walk you through that just real quick, when you are looking at your church's dashboard and you're in your church account. So guys, one thing to be aware of is that if you have a light account and a church account, you're often going to see this screen, not your dashboard. If you see your dashboard, it looks like this. If you have a light account, or if you have more than one account, which most people do if you're a church or a ministry, what you'll do first is you will click into the church, and then you will click into tools, and there you'll be able to start to edit the details about your church or your ministry, including what networks you're a part of, uploading your church's web address, your church contact information, and adding additional administrators. So I think, Greg, that was you that asked, how do you do that? This is how you do that. Go into your church's organization, click on tools, scroll down a little bit. Guys, this is also where you're going to be able to add these additional Blessed Partner, New Mover, and Community Connector subscriptions. It's where you'll be able to manage any attenders that you've already connected from a church management system, manage settings for your New Mover account, such as who are the people that you want to be able to get access to those new movers. Lots of things in here, guys. Happy to walk anybody through these in more detail in a personalized session. We are officially over the hour. And so, guys, we want to thank you so much for joining us. This is
Can I
again
make
the
one
first.
more comment?
Please,
I
Chris.
know we're
Yes.
over, but
Send us home.
a very important question was, if you need help, okay, you can just email us at blesseveryhome.com, okay, and say, hey, I want to sign up for a webinar, and we will send you our calendar. You just pick a date that works for you, and we'll do a 30-minute or a 60-minute webinar with you, walk you through your own mission fields, look at all that stuff, help you with anything you need. So it's not limited to these help desk requests. So feel free we want to work with you on webinars like this, and that's what we do most of the time, frankly. So I just want to thank you all for coming today, and thank you, Steele. You've done a great job of leading us through this, and we're excited. Our goal is that every home in America will be adopted by one of our lights who are living pray, care, share lifestyles. And we can do it. We got the toolbox to do it here. We just need the churches to sign up, and so we just encourage you to get on board if you're not already, and we want to help you out.
Absolutely.
So thanks very much.
Thanks a lot, guys. Be back with you soon. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Thank you.